Hey, it's Adam and Katelyn, and this is Enta Asks. Do you want to be featured in our next episode?
Just click the links below.
Hello, and welcome to Enta Asks. I'm Adam Kolozetti.
And I'm Katelyn Bullock, co-founders of Enta Solutions. And today, who do we have, Adam?
We are so excited to have Mickey Pendergast on our show with us. Welcome, Mickey.
Thanks very much. Happy to be here.
And Mickey is the owner of the Schooley Mitchell Consulting Office in Calgary, and Schooley Mitchell are business expense reduction consultants. So, Mickey, tell us about that. How did you get into expense reduction consulting?
Well, that's a great question. It's kind of a long story, but it's sort of a natural outflow for me of my business background. So for over 20 years, I was self-employed in the food industry, where I learned the difficult way that eventually you have to take care of your expenses if you want to make any money. So that was a long, difficult, expensive tuition, but it was a good lesson to learn. Eventually, I sold my business and went and worked in the corporate world for a former supplier of mine that sold food equipment and supplies. And eventually worked my way into the VP operations role, where, again, that was a big part of what I had to do was manage the expenses and streamline our costs and just sort of take care of business. So eventually I moved on from there, and I was looking for something new to do, something to start a business, buy a business. I didn't know what I was going to do. And I found this opportunity. It's an established Canadian company, been around forever. And exactly what they do. They work with business owners and decision makers to find ways to reduce expenses. So it seemed like a really good fit for me in terms of my preference for being self-employed partially, and also the ability to really work with business owners and help them save money. So it was a natural fit for me from what I learned sort of all those years of the school of hard knocks sort of a thing, to get down to the nitty gritty and find ways to trim those costs and turn that revenue into profit. So that's sort of seemed like a natural fit. So that's what I've been doing. So it's great.
That's excellent. And it's great because you've lived it, right? Like you know it, you've gone through it, you've seen it from the other side, which is really cool, right? So I love that aspect. And correct me if I'm wrong, back when you had your own business, you were down in my neck of the woods.
That's right. No, that's for sure. It was a contract food service company that I owned. I built from zero to a point where we had 18 locations and 120 employees. It was when I say contract food service, think of locations that want to have food and beverage on site, but don't want to run it themselves. So we did corporate cafeterias, high schools, recreational facilities, government locations, all those types of things, colleges. And one of the things we did was Turner Valley Golf Course for about 11 seasons. It was a great part of my life. I loved that environment. And now you're in Black Diamond. So yeah, beautiful part of the world. So it wasn't a terrible thing to be driving towards the mountains on a sunny morning. So yeah.
Right. And I mean, you got to support your clients. So you probably had a round of golf while you're out there, right?
Well, I wish I golfed more. Everyone thinks that people who work at the golf course play a lot of golf. It's not the case. I was probably there 5 years before the pro and I ever played a round of golf together, because we were both working. You work 7 days a week and you watch people golf, and maybe you sneak out onto the putting green for 20 minutes, but the 5-hour round of golf wasn't usually in the cards. The employees wouldn't appreciate that, I don't think.
Right. And it's very timely. We're talking about expenses and turning, what is often considered just a sunk cost into more profit, right? I mean, especially with what's going on in the world with COVID and the economy in Alberta. So, when is a good time for a company to engage with you? Like what companies need your services?
Well, there's never a bad time to save money. So what I found over the years was, and it becomes more true every day, is that this is it's a part of people's business that is sometimes it's not the funnest part of running a business or whatever. So grinding out your expenses or sitting on hold of the phone company all afternoon or whatever, there's more fun things to do and things that are frankly more productive for people who have who are decision makers in a business. So so we find businesses that are sort of a certain size, that reach a certain level of how much they're spending, then it becomes worthwhile for us to engage, because our only fee is a share of the savings that we find.
Sorry, time out.
Yeah.
You don't take any money unless you find savings.
That's right. No, we do the initial review, and if it turns out there are no savings to be found, then we don't get paid. You get a free audit of your expense of the categories that we specialize in, and we part friends and move on.
That's amazing. That's such an amazing opportunity right now, because everybody's really, really counting those dollars, right? And they're probably not even looking at it. Like, correct me if I'm wrong, the expenses that you're looking at usually get lumped under like a miscellaneous, kind of lump sum.
Yeah, it depends. Every company does a little bit differently, but when people do recognize they have to save money, they'll usually look at the real big categories. They'll look at head count. They'll look at maybe their occupants cost or their marketing or whatever they're spending big money on. The phone bills, the waste handling bills, the courier bills, the credit card fees, those types of things quite often sort of fly under the radar, and they assume, as Adam said, it's a sunk cost, or it is what it is. The phone bill, it's a phone bill, pay the phone bill. But we find ways to optimize those plans. We find billing errors. We find that with our 20 years of doing this, and we've got 150 offices across North America, we've got some leverage that we bring to the table. So we get offered better pricing than is typically being offered to a standalone business. So that's where we find the opportunities.
That's really interesting.
We have a lot more great stuff for you, so stay tuned for the next episode to see what we learn.